So I'm going to talk a little bit about resistance. So resistance can show up at any time on your healing journey, and it's bound to show up for all of you at different times for different reasons. So some of the common reasons why resistance shows up, it's when we are afraid of confronting something within ourselves. So typically fear of facing an emotion, of recognizing a truth within ourselves, or coming up against a limiting belief that we're carrying. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the ways resistance can show up in our breathwork practices and some of the things that you can do along your healing journey to help you move through some of that resistance. So some of the common things that you might be experiencing that indicate there's some resistance would be yawning a lot. Obviously, if you're thinking, if your mind is really active, that's a sign of resistance when you're doing breath work, because the point is to let go of your mind enough so that you can start to feel. So if no emotions are coming up, if you're super in your head, if you're thinking about what you have to do later, if you're really preoccupied with this isn't working, why isn't this working, I want to feel something but I can't feel something, any of those kinds of narratives, it's just another mechanism so that you don't have to actually feel and you can think about how you're not feeling. So some people experience like a drifting off, like almost like they're sort of floating away, daydreaming, or actually falling asleep in a breathwork session. So depending on what's going on with you, there's different ways to move through this. So I'll just give a couple of suggestions for things that you might be able to try out on your healing journey. So specifically for falling asleep or kind of drifting away in your breathwork session. So one of the first things that you can do is before you breathe, just really acknowledge and set the intention, and all of you can do this no matter what's coming up for you, but just set the intention that you're ready to confront whatever is within you that you know a part of you is in resistance to being with. And then as you're breathing, pay attention if there's a lot of heaviness in the body. That can create a feeling of like wanting to fall asleep and drifting off. I've experienced this a lot when I first started to do breath work. It was really, really challenging for me. So I know the feeling, and I know it can be really frustrating. I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in a couple of minutes, but what you can start to do is make sure that your breath is really active. So for those of you who are drifting off, you feel a heaviness in your body, you're sort of floating away and not being fully present, you can call your energy and your awareness back into your body when you notice that you're drifting off, and make sure your breath is really active. So you can almost imagine as if you're like piercing your lungs with your inhale. So really just intentionally activating the breath and activating the energy in your body. You're communicating to that energy that you're showing up to do this work. You're communicating that to your body, like wake up. And you don't have to do that the whole time that you're breathing. You can start to get into a more gentle rhythm, but just for that, first part where you're feeling super heavy, that can be a helpful thing to work with. You can also use some affirmations. So I like to say, it's safe for me to feel my feelings. That can be a really good one for the times when you know that you're in resistance to feeling your feelings. If you're somebody who has not experienced any emotional release in breathwork yet, that is totally fine, and it's actually very normal. Some people come to this work and they're like ready to open right up. That's just where they happen to be in their life, and the breath cracks them wide open and the emotion releases. For others of us, myself included, we come and there's a lot of protective mechanisms in place when we first start to work with the breath. And so for me, I did not cry for a while into my breathwork sessions, and that was because I didn't feel safe enough yet. So it's really important for you to trust that if you're not feeling yet, it's okay. For those of you who are doing this work on your own and not working with a facilitator or not doing one-on-ones or group sessions, it can be challenging to feel safe to be in our bodies without somebody holding space for us. So it's still possible, it just might take some time. So you can say it's safe for me to be in my body, and just trust that the more you show up to do this work, you're communicating to your body and you're developing a deeper relationship of trust within your body so that you can start to feel your feelings. So we have these expectations that like, oh, I'm just deciding, with my mind that I want to feel my feelings, and so I should be able to feel my feelings. It doesn't work that way, especially when we have not had much experience feeling safe, feeling the depth of our feelings in our bodies, or even being in our bodies in general. So trust that it's safe for you to continue to show up, and trust that eventually the emotions will release when you feel safe enough to feel them. So I just want to emphasize that nothing is wrong. No matter what you're experiencing in your sessions, no matter what kind of resistance is showing up for you, nothing's wrong. It's not that this work isn't for you. This is long-term work. This is not about showing up to have an experience one time. I've been using breathwork as a tool for 7 years for healing, and I can attest that there are many different experiences on the healing journey, and depending on what needs to arise within you, there might be different types of resistance that shows up. So it becomes this art of how we work through the resistance. A big part of it is having compassion for yourself, having love for yourself, and recognizing that this is a journey. There's nothing wrong with what's happening for you, and keep showing up to communicate to the energy, to the universe, to spirit, to the deeper part of yourself that you are ready for something more for your life. Okay, so I hope this video is helpful for moving through some resistance. If you have additional questions, you're welcome to email me. Keep showing up for the work. That's the most important part.